let's turn our attention to attorney Kenneth Hiller, who's back to talk about what to do if you are being harassed by robocalls. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm telling you, they are almost abusive, Kenneth. You know what I mean? When you get these calls, you don't know who these people are. They're calling you. Apparently, they are abusive debt collectors in many cases,
yes,
right?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it used to be that the way a debt collector would harass people would be to call your boss, call your neighbor.
Yeah.
But they got sued so many times, and it costs a lot to hire people to do that. So now they use these robocalls, and they just call you and pound your phone until you relent.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of people, you don't really know where this is coming from, so you might fall prey to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine seniors getting this phone call, assuming that this person is on the, is on the straight and narrow. It tells you that you owe them money. You may not even remember what this is for, and so you're to make it go away, you're tempted to pay them.
Yes, and they a lot of times they call the wrong person by mistake even. Because somebody maybe changed their telephone number and they have this phone number and they're calling. Never, ever give your social security number.
That's the first rule of thumb, right?
Yeah.
But there are laws to protect you, and you need to know that.
Yes, there are. And really, I mean, somebody in their basement can make robocalls. It's very cheap technology. The only way that can ultimately stop them is to sue them. And Congress did give us tools to do that. They have to pay $500 a call if they call you on your with a robocall on your cell phone without your approval.
Oh, that's great information to have.
Yeah.
They cannot, by law, repeatedly use the phone to annoy someone. They cannot use obscene or profane language. They cannot use threats of violence or harm. And making false claims about debt is also illegal.
Yes, we've had cases where they called somebody and said the sheriff was going to come to pick them up if they didn't pay their debt. And these people believed it.
Sure.
They took their kids to their grandma's house because they thought that the sheriff was going to come and pick them up.
And I have a feeling that once these robocalls feel like there's a real person on the other end, that's when they really, turn up the heat. In our case, we don't recognize the phone number that pops up on the screen. We don't even answer the phone.
Right. And sometimes they'll robocall somebody 10 times in a day. We had a case with a client who had cancer. He was recovering from chemotherapy, and they're robocalling him. And he said, please don't call me on Mondays. That's when I get back from my chemo. They just called him and called him and called him.
Oh, and you get a lot of clients who are having this problem. So this really exists here in Western New York more than you think.
It's really all over the country. It's the new way that telemarketers and debt collectors use to do business.
Oh my goodness.
It's very cheap. It's very cheap to make a robocall. You have to be proactive though. You have to get the number. Sometimes if you put the number in Google, you can find out who it is. You need to keep track of the numbers because they'll deny they ever made the calls.
Right.
Don't ever delete the numbers from your phone. Keep a record of it, and always tell them that you do not consent to the calls. Because sometimes if you'll sign a contract like years ago, and in the fine print it says, "I agree for you to call me with robocall technology."
Oh boy.
So you want to revoke that consent.
Let me also tell you what you have on your side, especially when you call the law offices of Kenneth Hiller. The debt collector may be sued. The debt collector could also be required to pay your attorney fees, okay? So you do have a lot of law on your side, but you need to learn more about it through the offices of Kenneth Hiller. They can help you with cell phone harassment or other consumer protection matters during a free consultation. So give them a call today and never be bothered by robocallers again.